It is Thanksgiving week and the Cowboys just won a football game, so why not take a moment and run through 7 players to be thankful for. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday and Thursday night and catching up with you Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays with quick-hitting videos such as this one. I think Cowboys Nation should be in a good mood. Cowboys won a game against a division rival. It was a pretty wild game too. It was fun to watch. And although I understand people who are complaining about the Cowboys not tanking, right? I also kind of feel, why are you watching the games if you're not going to enjoy a ball game in the 24th of November? Take the win, be happy for the players. And I thought that today we could enjoy the dove by really tapping into the Thanksgiving aspect of the week and diving into 7 Cowboys to be thankful for this year. Even in a 4-7 season, 7 Cowboys to be thankful for. And we'll start with the list. I mean, you already saw him on the thumbnail. You saw him on the opening graphic. Let's start with Micah Parsons. Now, let me tell you something about Micah specifically. I think he deserves to be on this list and probably at number 1. And this will be a similar theme to another player once we get to him. But fans give Micah a lot of, we don't leave Micah alone. Oh, he has a podcast. Oh, he's very outspoken. Oh, he's got to be careful with what he says to the media. And I'll be honest, sometimes even I have criticized him here on the show because I don't like what he says to reporters sometimes, or I don't agree with the way that he handled this or that. And a lot of times people are discussing, is Micah a good leader? Man, honestly, I kind of get it, but also, can we stop with the whole conversation that the Cowboys should get rid of Micah Parsons? Because holy smokes, you can tell the difference with the Cowboys defense when he's on the field. And you saw it again on Sunday versus the Commanders. I think he had like 8 total pressures. He had 2 sacks. He was all in versus Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. And it's pretty cool to watch given the context of the season. The Cowboys are 4-7. Juan J. Thomas talked about this with the media. He was like, man, when players are fighting to stay on the roster, you cannot tank. Like, you cannot have that mentality. Micah is not fighting to stay on the roster, and he's one of the highest effort players on the team. Even though the situation is a situation, he is insisting that the Cowboys are a good team, but they're just putting it together. And while you might hear that and be like, man, Micah is crazy, the Cowboys are going to continue to lose games, and they're going to miss the playoffs, that's fair if you think that, but you got to respect Micah Parsons. Now, on that 2-point conversion, and speaking of Juan J. Thomas, when Micah is totally pissed at Juan J. because he didn't set the edge, we talked about this last night on the live show, that is a guy that wants to win. And there's a leadership aspect to it. So I think Cowboys Nation, man, you got to be thankful for having Micah Parsons on the team because, boy, he is a beast. He is absolutely good. And you got to enjoy watching him play. Now, on a similar note, I will jump to CeeDee Lamb also on this list. And I mentioned CeeDee because I complained about this too earlier in the season and even in 2023 a little bit. When things were not going the Cowboys' way, CeeDee Lamb was a little bit guilty of having some negative body language or maybe having a negative attitude upon the situation. But lately, that's not what we're seeing from CeeDee Lamb. Lately, we're seeing a player that is doing his absolute best and giving the Cowboys his everything when things are not going their way. Cowboys have had no Dak Prescott since the Falcons game. CeeDee was noticeably banged up for that one and was still giving his all. That's been the case also in the last few games versus the Eagles, versus the Texans, now versus the Commanders. And the level of play that he brings to the table is pretty impressive. Went for over 60 yards on this game. I believe he ended up with 6 catches total, but he did much more than that. Some of these catches, he bailed out Cooper Rush at least one time where he's working back to the ball. There's like 3 burgundy jerseys there from the Commanders, and CeeDee's fighting to get to the football and avoid a terrible outcome. And CeeDee's just making plays left and right. even with the bad offense that surrounds him sometimes. So CeeDee Lamb has to be on the list, and then not necessarily in order, but I'll just continue to go through the list. Give me Kevontae Turpin, the man of the hour, after that 99-yard touchdown return. But not only did he return that epic kickoff, but hell, 1 week prior, he was your offense with that 64-yard touchdown catch versus, that's what you've gotten out of the Cowboys lately. You're not seeing a lot of offense, but Kevontae Turpin has given them some production, some explosion. And you got to respect what Kevontae Turpin is doing. Kevontae might get the Cowboys back in the conversation for an award at the NFL Honors at the end of the season, right before the Super Bowl. Now, the Cowboys, when the season was about to start, we thought maybe they had a shot at an MVP because of Dak Prescott. Was a runner-up in 2023, so why not a candidate in 2024? We knew Micah Parsons could be in the mix for Defensive Player of the Year. We thought maybe if things go well, CeeDee will be back in the conversation for Offensive Player of the Year. We thought about all that. Hell, some of us were like, maybe Mike McCarthy, if he does his thing again, he might get in the mix for Coach of the Year. All of that is out of the picture, obviously. But there is an award that the Cowboys won last year, and obviously it's not going to be a major award, but the NFL does give out the moment of the year. I think Kevontae Turpin might win that for Dallas. Last year, Dak and CeeDee won it for the 92-yard touchdown versus the Lions, where Dak is scrambling and he just throws it and finds an open CeeDee Lamb. Now it might be Kevontae Turpin's turn to win it. But you got to hand it to him. He's got to be on this list after what happened on Sunday. Got to respect it. And you listen to Cowboys players and coaches talk about it, and you know how important that play was for the mood on the sidelines and obviously in the locker room, just moving forward. You just know Cowboys were unbelievably happy about this play. I'm going to go to a random one. This is a pretty unexpected one maybe for you, but I'm going to go with cornerback Josh Butler, because I think if Josh Butler does not play like an absolute dog on Sunday, the Cowboys don't beat the Commanders. You had no Trevon Diggs. You had no Kalen Carson either. So it was going to be one of those situations where the Cowboys are playing backup, or maybe they're putting Izzy Mukwamu on the spot, or maybe they changing some things up. But the Cowboys said, you know what, we're going to be fine. We're going to have Deron Bland on the outside, Jordan Lewis on the inside. We're going to do some rotations with Bland because obviously he's just coming back from injury, so we got to take it easy with him. But we're going to play Josh Butler again. Now, keep in mind, Butler had already benched Kalen Carson the week prior to this. Butler, for those of you who don't remember, 2 years ago, he was in the UFL. The Cowboys signed him to the practice squad, though, in 2023, spent all season there, and then 2024, this is only his fourth game, I believe, that he played on Sunday. And Josh Butler handled the Commanders receiving corps, Noah Brown, former Cowboy, was targeted quite a few times on this game, and Josh Butler was just recording breakup after breakup. I think he had a total of 3 PBUs on this one. He was on fire. So in a game that he could have been the liability, he ended up being one of the top standouts from the game. Josh Butler gets on the list because of that for me. And then I have some more that are a little bit more thematic, right? Players that maybe didn't particularly stood out on Sunday versus the Commanders, but players that I still believe Cowboys Nation should be thankful for. And I'm going to go with linebacker DeMarvion Overshown. Dallas is going to go through an overhaul in 2025, chances are. Listen, we got to talk about Mike McCarthy's security and all that, maybe for another day. But there's a high likelihood still, even though the Cowboys beat the Commanders, that there's going to be a coaching staff change. And that might include Mike Zimmer on the defensive coordinator side of things. That might include talent-wise. There's going to be a lot of changes. Eric Kendricks, I would assume, if Mike Zimmer is not around, he's going to be unlikely to return to Dallas in 2025. That leaves the Cowboys with several question marks on defense. But Overshown, the way that he's played, Cowboys Nation has a reason to believe they're set at linebacker for the near future. They're going to need depth, obviously. They're going to need to add people. But having DeMarvion Overshown in there should make Cowboys fans feel good about the future of the linebacker position in Dallas. So shout out Overshown. I think he's been one of the bright spots of an otherwise underwhelming 2024 NFL season. So I thought, hey, if I'm doing this list for the show, Obershone has to be in there. Now I've got two more. I've got two more people who deserve to be on this list. I want to take a moment, however, to ask you, who else should be on this list? Who else are you thankful for on the Cowboys that we haven't touched on yet? I have two more names to give you. Before I do that, though, let me talk to you about our friends over at Texas Card House, where you can join the premier poker experience and meet the excitement of the game as well as the thrill of the community. And if you play poker, you know how important it is to get the community right, and you can join Texas Card House at any of their 6 Texas locations. That includes the Dallas and Las Colinas venues. And by the way, if you go to any of those 2 and mention A to Z Sports, you will get a free month of membership and 2 free hours to play poker. Alternatively, you can go to texascardhouse.com and use promo code AZSports and still get these same benefits. Top-notch facilities, amazing environment and community. Go to Texas Card House and hey, on A to Z Sports and have a fun time playing some cards, guys. Moving forward a little bit with the show, though, and I'm looking forward to reading who you got on the comments. 2 more names from me. This is going to be a bittersweet one for you. Zach Martin. Man, I am thankful for Zach Martin, even if we don't see him again on the football field, because right now it's a question mark. I think Stephen Jones, I don't think, I know. Stephen Jones said on the radio today that Zach Martin was going to be a little bit of a long shot to play on Thursday. Hopefully, we end up seeing him again in 2024. But even though he wasn't great this season, you got to be thankful for somebody like Zach Martin playing in Dallas the way that he did for his career. Lock for the Hall of Fame. Absolute legend and one of the very best Cowboys players and NFL players of his generation. Perennial All-Pro, just an absolute class act off the field. He might retire after this season. So we're thankful for Zach Martin, even if, 2024, Father Time's undefeated once again. Got to respect Zach Martin. And hopefully we do get to see him a little bit again. I hope so. And lastly, but certainly not least, and I know some people are going to be upset at this one, but I don't care, Dak Prescott. And man, I know some of you will be like, are you kidding me, Mo? Dak did not have a good 2024 season, I'll give you that. But I'm looking at across the entire NFL, and I'm looking at the teams that don't have a quarterback right now, and I'm like, man, I'm glad that the Cowboys at least don't have to worry about quarterback going into 2025. They have to worry about so many things. Not finding a quarterback, though, because they've got one in Dak. Now, we might have a conversation about what can we expect from Dak after another injury. But overall, man, I'll tell you this. You don't want to be one of those teams on QB limbo. That's absolutely something that you don't want. So Dak goes on the list. Let me know what you guys think of the list. Thank you for joining me for another episode of A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime, and I'll see you again on Tuesday. Then we get the Wednesday show, and on Thursday, even though it is Thanksgiving, I should be around here on Primetime to talk to you about the Cowboys-Giants game. Thank you, and bye-bye.